But what I want more out of this is just to like really show people like no matter what, you can reach your goals and dreams. Like no matter what hardships, no matter what obstacles, no matter what pain, like you really can get there. You can get there. Yeah.
It's achievable.
It's nothing is impossible. Like you are your own worst enemy. Like you are the only thing that will stop yourself.
Welcome to the Fuel Hunt Show.
What's going on, Eagles? I'm Joey. Welcome to the Fuel Hunt Show. Typically, I introduce my cousin and co-founder to my left, but today is a special day. It's a little different. I'm going to start to my right because we have a guest. So you don't have to listen to me talk all the time. We have somebody else that's going to be speaking.
Finally, I can hear someone else's story.
Today we have with us Pro Grappler.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. I like to think of you as all-around badass, Amanda Mazza. No stranger to HQ. Mm-mm. You've been here many times before, but welcome to the Fuel Hunt Show. The first time where there's a video, probably camera. Usually you're behind the lens, you know, doing some photo shoots and things like that when you're not training. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So we're happy to have you. You're our first guest. This is
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
You got a plaque, right?
We're gonna do plaques, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
We'll do something. We'll do something. We'll do something. We'll do something for sure. So, where should we start? I have so many questions.
Yeah.
Let me start by saying this. A few months ago, we did an episode of Stories of the Few with you, right?
Yep.
That we published to YouTube. I sent an email out when that Stories of the Few dropped. Did you get that email?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I screenshotted it and then saved it. That's something I honestly like. You know, like I said before, like that was one of the first times I really kind of came out about it. And of course, like there's a lot more details that I've kept away, but that email, like, you know, it's just like reassurance of like, it's good that I did this. It's good that I'm starting to talk about it, you know, because it's not something I've talked about for a really long time.
Yeah, your story will definitely strengthen others, you know, so I agree with you. It's really important. I asked about the email because that email now is now an award-winning email.
What?
So I didn't tell you this, but you were featured in a magazine this month.
What?
Yes. So I'll
Holy
show
crap.
it to. I think I have it with me, but I'll show you the email was in there.
Oh wow.
It's not
That's
about
awesome.
that though. I was just kind of giving myself a pat on the back. What it is about is how I opened that email. And I opened the email. I said that. Let me think of the exact words. Have you ever? Oh man, I want to think of the exact words. Have you ever met someone and knew that they were just different? Right, that's how I opened it up. I said, sometimes you see it in their eyes. Sometimes you can feel it when you stand with them, or you can hear it in the way that they speak. Mm-hmm. And that's the way I felt when I first met you here. Mm-hmm. You came through with Eddie. I don't know if you remember that.
Yep.
You came through with Eddie and copped some gear and things like that. But
Eddie Torres?
Yes, yeah. Being in your presence, I knew that you were just different. I could feel your energy. I could feel that more than likely you had gone through some things and came out better on the other end. And like I said, more badass on the other end of those things. Yeah. I truly meant what I said in the email. I have a gift of feeling that type of energy from people, I believe. It hasn't been confirmed, but I believe it. That Stories of the Few was very powerful. We can get into that a little bit. I really want all the Eagles watching to know how you got started on your journey with jiu-jitsu, and I feel like that is probably a piece of the story, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you tell the Eagles that are watching and listening a little bit about why you started jiu-jitsu and that story?
So basically, really long story short, you know, I had a really rough upbringing, childhood and everything. Come from a very like broken home. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know what? Like I said, it really made me who I am, you know, and unfortunately I grew up at a young age. It was really hard to figure it out, especially so young, 12 years old, you know, like in my last podcast, everything I was 12. So I had to figure it out young. I was always a scrappy little girl, always tough on the playgrounds. You know, I had an older brother, but my older brother, he's autistic. So, you know, when people picked on him, they're picking on me. So I was ready to fight always, you know. So, but you know, fast forward to things when I was 19, that situation had happened to me. And really like I was already boxing and everything because again like I had some other situations happen younger, you know, with I was working in Atlantic City, I almost got mugged in a parking garage, like crazy things, like of course.
And that's before
this,
before that incident. So you had already been so you weren't grappling.
I wasn't grappling yet. I was striking.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, like I was just basically doing more boxing and a little bit of kickboxing here and there, but more like just strictly boxing. So after that, you know, that situation happened, and you know, I really thought I was gonna die. Honestly, I didn't think I was gonna live, and I had no one to call. I had nowhere to go. I had nothing.
Yep.
You know, don't mean to get emotional, but it was really scary. It was like the scariest time in my life. And honestly, like the fact that I made it out of that, I'm like, I can get through anything and nothing and nobody will ever break me. So, you know, and after that, I joined an MMA gym.
Yep.
I met some people out because I was living in Atlantic City and they're like, oh, come learn MMA. So I started learning MMA, and they didn't do strictly jiu-jitsu. It was like, you know, kickboxing, boxing.
You were already kind of familiar with
grappling,
that.
But like not like full jiu-jitsu. So it was like getting into submissions and stuff like that. So I was doing that. And I was like, you know what? I want to fight MMA. So they're like, well, if you want to do that, you know, you're learning the striking, the kickboxing, let's get you into jiu-jitsu. And I was like, all right, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And right away, my first gym was more of like a self-defense gym down by Atlantic City area.
Mm-hmm.
I was the only girl, and I'm a small girl, as we know. So
you're scrappy.
I'm scrappy. I was in there every day, morning classes, night classes. I also was working like 4 jobs at the time too. I was really off the grid too at this point. I was very like kind of trying to build myself, my confidence, everything back up, because that broke me so badly that like I really just didn't know who I was, and I just didn't know how to trust people after that, because like again, this was somebody that I really trusted and loved and cared about. And it's crazy how like it was years of trust and love right to that gone and just like ready to end me in my life that fast. So after that, with grappling and everything, you know, I found myself, it was hard at first, especially in jiu-jitsu, and again, being the only girl in the gym, it was a little tough, like being in certain positions and stuff, because it would just kind of like, obviously we have trauma and there's trigger points. Like, you know, I wouldn't freak out or anything, but like I would leave practice, I wouldn't show it, because I'm somebody like, one thing, my dad's a real Italian. He's like a Joe Pesci, honestly, if you guys know that. That's my father. His saying was always, never let them see you sweat. So like even in there in times that I would feel like uncomfortable and like panic, you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know. But the second I would leave those practices and get in my car, I would break down. I would cry. Like I would feel pain. Like I just like wouldn't be able to have words for these things. But you know what? I would go back and show up the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day. And I just kept going. And honestly, once I started learning more and getting better, I just felt more and more and more powerful. And I was starting to feel like myself again.
Yeah. Building yourself back up.
Mm-hmm.
You hit on so many things. We don't have to dive into, you know, that event specifically in detail, if you don't want to, but to give everybody that's watching and listening just an idea of what you're referring to. At 19, you were with somebody that you trusted and loved at the time, someone that you felt safe with. That person took you far away from any type of civilization, miles into a blueberry fields, farms. For some reason, that person snapped, broke your ribs, broke your wrist.
Broke my ribs, my wrist, cuts on my face, like almost knocked my teeth out, but thank God he didn't.
Which is
but still
despicable, terrible. But then it got worse. What happened was you were basically ejected from the vehicle and left there. And you sat there in the freezing cold, in the snow, thinking to yourself, how could someone do this to me and then leave me? It's impossible. That person will be back eventually to pick me back up, and then I can get to somewhere where I can get some help. Well, the person never came back. So then you were forced to walk miles, 4 or 5 miles.
How far were you?
4 miles. 4 miles, because honestly, like once I got to the hospital and they were like, where were you? And I told them what Blueberry Field I was at. They're like, that's 4 miles from here. Like I didn't even know. I couldn't track it. I had no idea. I just wasn't stopping.
No phone, no jacket.
Nothing. I had my Converse on, and it was a snowstorm, and it was literally like middle of the night, dark out there, because there's no street lights. God, I would say it's probably, well, when we got out there, it was like 1. By the time I got to the hospital, it was probably like 4:30,
Oh
almost
my
5 a.m.
God.
because it started getting light out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
So a traumatic experience, to say the least, like physically and mentally traumatic. And it sounds like, and again, we don't have to get into it, but it sounds like that wasn't the first one. There may have been some things, before that could have been equally as traumatizing. And I think in these instances, it's very, very difficult to have the strength to do what you did, which is come out the other side stronger and more skilled as an example, right? For not just our community, but for society as a whole. Right?
Absolutely.
What is interesting now that you mentioned that you would get into your car after practice some nights and like cry, like that, from my research on it might be emotional release, right? Like jiu-jitsu is for a lot of people. Like no matter the day they're having or what they've been through, they come to the mats and they leave it all out there and they feel better. Like, and it sounds like that's what you did over a long period of time. You maybe released those emotions and healed, for lack of a better word, helped heal your trauma through jiu-jitsu, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you take the step to do something uncomfortable to heal yourself, and not only heal yourself, but also feel safe, right?
Yeah.
To a degree that you could defend yourself.
Yep.
So not only heal, and then you're hit with another challenge immediately, like you're the only woman there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was definitely a challenge too, especially again, like they didn't really, this was like before jiu-jitsu was pretty big. So they were just like, and I'm like, hey, I want to come in here. I want to fight MMA. They're like, okay, relax, little girl. Like,
right.
And, at that point it's kind of like, all right, you know what? You don't want to take me seriously. That's fine. Like, I'm not a sayer. I'm a doer. Like, I've always been that way. Like, all right, just watch me. Like, you don't got to believe me. Just watch me. Like, I'm so big on actions speak louder than words. And I've been that way since I was a kid. Like I know, like, I'm a born leader. Like, I've always been. I've never followed the crowd. That was always who I am. Even being bullied young and stuff. But, like, even in the room, I'm like, all right, like, they don't want to take me seriously. Like, if I have questions, they kind of like would brush me off a little bit. That's fine. I would be in there. I would show up. I was getting better and better and better. 4 months in the training, I went and did my first competition by myself. You know what I mean? And I just kept competing.
Jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wanted to fight MMA and everything. Obviously, like, I wanted to make sure like my grappling was down. So I think I can't even tell you how many competitions I've done from white to blue, and now I'm purple.
Yep.
God, I've done so many. Gi, no gi, I've traveled for them, everything. But,
not just not just on the national stage.
Yeah.
Right. So you got some international stuff coming
Yes, I
up,
do.
right?
Yes, I do.
Which we'll talk about. But how critical do you think it was? You said you've always been about action, right? Actions over words. You're a doer. Not a sayer. Like, how critical was that in the journey? I feel like it had to be huge.
Oh, huge. Because again, like, a lot of people, like, including my own parents, unfortunately, like, so many false promises were fed to me constantly, and their actions never followed their words. And I knew how bad that hurt me constantly. Like, they're good people, but they were not the best parents, at all. And it's sad now that I'm 28 years old and now they apologize for it.
Yeah.
But it's like, not that I forgive them. Don't get me wrong, I forgive them. It is what it is. And, again, like, I'm grateful because it all made me who I am, and I really like who I am.
Yeah.
But, it was super critical because honestly, like, people could say things to me and I just would be like, okay. Like, and then it sucks because, like, I wanted to believe them, but I couldn't. So then now I'm like, all right, well, I know how that feels. Yeah. So I'm not going to be like that. Like, sure. Everything, like, I went through, like, everything from childhood to, teenager, like, all that. Honestly, like, everything was like, all right, I knew how I felt with that. I'm not going to be like that. Yep. I learned from my parents what not to do. So they led by example for me what not to do.
I think that's like what I felt when I said, when I stood next to you and talked to you, that I could just feel you were different. I think that's what I felt. The fact that you had experienced things in your life that made you this way. Like, a simple way of saying it, like, you're choosing a different path than what you experienced. Yeah. Like, I could feel it. It was palpable. So The other thing, not letting them see you sweat. I think that's amazing, by the way. And even though I don't look it, like my roots are Italian, so I appreciate a good Joe Pesci dad. You know what I mean? I think that also, it's very action oriented.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's the seeing, like they're watching you do something. They're not listening. They're seeing. They're watching you do something.
Yep.
And there's some. With the sweating, obviously there's plenty of sweating.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But,
for sure.
But the sweating that you're referring to is like a lack of confidence or conviction in what you're doing, the actions that you're taking. Yeah. Yeah. So you hit on like a lot of different things there. One other thing that I wanted to talk about too, a challenge. Jiu-jitsu is very intimate isn't the right word for it, but
it kind of is.
Yeah, exactly, right? Okay, so you're coming from a horribly traumatic experience that involved fighting, right? Injury, the same actions that now you are honing and learning, and the skills that you're learning to live your dream, right? There's so much irony in that, and I can only imagine how difficult it was. First of all, you didn't have the support in the gym when you first started.
Nope.
And the other thing too is the people in that gym probably didn't realize why you were there, that it had to do with that incident.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it seems like challenge after challenge after challenge was put in front of you.
Yeah.
And you just literally kept going.
Yep.
Like, there was no other option. You were just going to keep plowing through all of the challenges.
I only know one way, and it's forward always. Like, always. I never felt sorry for myself. I'm not gonna. And excuses, like, I am not a fan of excuses. I am not a fan of excuses.
You're in good company.
Yeah, I am not a fan. I used to be a police officer, so like one thing that we learned in academy was like excuses, and we had a whole saying. Every time like you'd come up with an excuse, you'd have to stand there information, be like, excuses are tools of the incompetent, and there's like a whole thing.
I love
so
that.
like, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
I like that. You're gonna have to share
I
that
hear
with
that
us.
in my sleep. It's kind of, but yeah, no, like,
policy here at HQ.
yeah. Oh, excuses are tools of the incompetent.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
a real thing. And honestly, like I've never came up with excuses because honestly, if anyone could have excuses, it's definitely me. Especially like I said, like that was just one battle. Like I like, again, I don't feel sorry for myself, but like that's why when people like come to me and they're like, you don't understand. I'm like, no, I do understand.
Yeah.
You have
Oh, yeah.
no idea. I understand. They're like, oh, I went through this. I'm like, hey, you're preaching to the choir. We all got our shit. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I survived a snowstorm, almost died of hypothermia. You could get through cutting these 3 pounds if you need to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
For
I
sure.
don't know. I just excuses like we always say, like we make time for the things that we want. Like we go after what we want. Like no matter what obstacles, because anyone that understands obstacles, it's me because I've had financial obstacles. I've had like physical obstacles. I've had it all. So it's like, I want this for my life with grappling. Like I'm trying to make it to the top level. Like that's my dream. Like I've made a lot of sacrifices for it. And, I'm not going to not let myself get there. I know I'm going to get there.
Yep.
And, like I've always say, like my life has been so bumpy and hard and stuff because I'm not meant for an average life and I'm not going to have one. And honestly, what I've done in 1 year compared to where I'm going to be in 3 years, oh my God.
I know.
Like
There's that conviction.
Yeah.
Like, I absolutely love that about you.
Yeah.
Like it's not, there's a lot of people that hype themselves up, right? Mm-hmm. They'll hype themselves up and they'll say, well, yeah, I'm going to the top. Like, it's the only option and all this other stuff. But like when you say it, it is so palpable that you believe it, like to your core. You are so convicted.
And the crazy part, like you're just rewiring your mind you can't lose because you literally don't even know what losing means in your mind. Like you're like, it's not even an option in here. Like when you're going through your mind of how this could plan out, like that, you don't even see that. So realistically, it's not even going to happen.
Yeah. You have every excuse to identify as a victim. Every single excuse.
Yeah.
And because you were.
Yeah.
You know, I hesitate to even, I can't say are because it's not,
no.
You, in that moment, I feel like in that moment you were, but outside of that moment, you never have been. And that's a choice that you've made.
Honestly, even through all of it, like I never felt bad for myself. Like, why me? Like I never was like that, even young.
Yeah.
Like I never was like that. I was just like, okay, it is what it is. I'll make it work. I'll figure it out. Like one thing about me, like, so fast forward, like even, you know, going through all that and everything, like I constantly worked. I worked 4 jobs in Atlantic City at one time. I was cocktail serving, bussing tables, serving, bartending, everything young. And, you know, I saved up so much money to buy my own house at 22. Like, it was so hard. It was hard, and like I hustled and I grinded and there were so many times where you would have that moment where I would cry in my car. Like my car is where I cry, and I would just like wipe my tears and be like, I'll figure it out. Like I've never asked anybody for anything, like, and that's something I'm still really learning. It's something really hard for me to do, is ask anyone for anything. Like that's why when people do things for me, like you guys know, I'm always like, thank you, I really, really appreciate you guys. Like when I say those things, like I really mean it. Like I'll reach my hand out there to help anybody, but like for me to ask for help, it's hard because I've been let down so many times. But again, I don't feel sorry for myself for that. It's like, all right, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. Like, you know, I pick myself up, I dust myself up, and I keep going, you know?
The gratitude is appreciated though, because we do give, like we say, give a lot. So like it is nice to feel like appreciated every once in a while. But one thing I wanted to say, like we're all going to experience adversity and pain in our lives. And there are people that take that pain and adversity and overcome and become great. And there are people that become victim. So like kudos to you for choosing the latter.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you always make it a point when you express your gratitude, you always make it a point to say like what you guys are doing, like I feel to my core, like not in those words, but like everything that you guys do is my life. I embody, like, and it's the absolute truth. You know, it's the absolute truth. Like I can't, just from what I know, and I know, you know, a good bit, but I'm sure there's more that I don't know. I could go through the rules of the few and say, Amanda's a shining example of all of these, like literally everything. The code of conduct of our community is basically your code of conduct, you know? And, you know, that's what I absolutely love about it.
And that's what we're very selective with the people who we work with and choose as athletes.
We kind of left that out, that we're honored that you represent Fuel Hunt as an athlete, you know, and even more than that as a person.
Because you're not wearing, while our designs are great, you're not always wearing Fuel Hunt for the dope designs or the dope quality of gear that we provide, but like what that eagle represents is really what's important, and that's why we are so selective with who we choose to work with. So
I'm grateful to be part of it, honestly. Like, you know, obviously, like as I've been climbing this ladder with jiu-jitsu, like endorsements are something that we obviously need to support our journey and everything like that. So like once you guys wanted me to be exclusive with you, like I was so thrilled and I was so honored, and I was like, if I could stand for any brand, because like, you know, of course, like anyone would just say yes to anything. Like I even said that from day one when I was like, when I talked to Jay Regabudo, my coach, I was like, hey, like I want to make a career out of this. How do I do so? And he gave me, you know, like, oh, you're going to start getting offers, start marketing yourself, this and that. But I told him from day one, I was like, I'm not just going to say yes to anybody. Like I know my worth. Like not that like, okay, obviously, like I'm a little fish in a big pond still, but like I was like, I know my worth, and I'm not just gonna say yes to anybody. I'm not gonna go with brands and teams that like I don't support, you know? And so for me to come with you guys, I'm just like, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Like this is who I wanna be, where I wanna be, and the people I wanna be with. Like I'm just like, I was so grateful and so happy because I was just like, this company, this brand, like I stand behind this. Like it's not like, oh yeah, I gotta tag them because I'm exclusive with them. No, it's like I stand for this. I believe in this, and this is me, and I love it and I support it. So I'm with you guys.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate you guys.
I feel emotional on this.
I hope you.
This day of podcast has been too much of an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, we've done some other shows today, and they've been emotional as well. I've kept it together. I haven't cried yet, so that's good.
You almost lost you on that last one, though.
Almost lost me, but I'm here. I'm still standing. I hope you felt the belief coming from our side too, you know, in you. And again, it all goes back to really that time when I met you, and I just knew. I just knew. I have a gift, like I said, of feeling when people are different. They're one of us.
I think it's like the Fuel Hunt effect, right? Like, you know, when you meet someone that you should be like connected to or you should work with. Like,
well, you know, one of the few. When you meet them, you know.
Yeah, you feel it. That's just how it is. Like leaders know a leader. You
Yeah.
know, people could say I'm a leader, I'm an alpha, but like, like you could feel that energy. Like, you know, like I've met a lot of people, especially on this journny, like that people are like, oh, I'm the best, I'm a leader, I'm this, I'm that, and
It's a
it's
different, it's
very
different to
small
be
percent
about it.
that actually, you want to walk, you want to talk the talk, walk the walk. You know what I mean? And
One of my favorite quotes from an OG of the space, Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher.
Yeah, of course.
He said everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do a beast too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like that, and
Yeah.
that's the fucking truth, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody talks a big game, and it goes back to you being action oriented, like action over words.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's
Absolutely.
talk more action. So you did mention that you were an officer.
Yeah.
Right, for a little bit of time, right? So we're kind of jumping around in your story, but you did mention, like, you know, you've sacrificed a lot of things to get to where you are in the sport. But there are also like other like careers, like, you know, you're working in Atlantic City, but then you're an officer.
Yep.
Right. So when was that?
So I went into law enforcement 2020.
Okay.
2020. I was a cop
shit.
for 2 years,
Yeah.
resigned in 2022. Yeah. Yeah. So it was not the best time
What
to
a
be.
time to be alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of jumped into it. You know, the opportunity was presented to me. I was trying to get into the military. That didn't really work out for me. A couple obstacles with that as well. I tried twice, took the test twice. The first time I took it, failed it by 2 points because math is not my strong suit, and I haven't seen that stuff since high school. So that was pretty hard. And then after that, COVID started happening and stuff, so MEPS closed down.
Yep.
So that was part of the reason. And then from there, the opportunity presented itself, and I kind of was like, all right, like I'm 25, like I need to figure my life out. Like I need a career because I was bartending, serving, bussing tables, everything. I was constantly working.
like, just
I'm
grinding.
telling you, like
Yeah.
summer down in Atlantic City, like, you know, Memorial Day weekend, the Labor Day weekend, that's where you make your money. I was working like a dog. Honestly, that I would just save my money. But
What was your training like at that point?
I would go during the day. Like I would work late, and Atlantic City's not like PA to where everything's closed at 2 a.m.
Oh, yeah,
Atlantic
of
City,
course.
things are open till 24 hours.
Yeah,
like I worked at a
yeah,
24-hour dive bar. One of my shifts was midnight to 9 a.m. and I was serving chicken wings, like
Oh,
literally. But you know what? Like I would get done 9 a.m., take a nap, sleep till like 11:30, go to noon class. Like that's what I would do. Come home, nap, go to the next job. You know, get done that, nap, go
Properly
train in the
fueling your
morning.
body for
Yeah.
your
Oh,
training.
100%. Like don't get me wrong. Like those Starbucks like little espresso things.
Yeah,
Like that's what I
lived
lived
on
off,
it.
and 5-hour energies. Like not good, but I still ate good. I still like would get my workouts in. It wasn't easy. I didn't have time for anything but work and training, you know? So like it wasn't easy. It was hard. I definitely wasn't like able to train and perform my best all the time because, you know, I was running on E constantly, but at the same time
You kept doing.
I kept doing it because, you know what, through something else that I had went through, like, you know, I was very, very, very poor and young. Like I was homeless at one point. So I'm like, I will never let myself couch surf, be homeless, and be this broke again, ever. So, you know, then again, fast forward to law enforcement after working like a dog, I was like, I need stability. I don't want to work like a dog anymore. Let's go into law enforcement. You know, and again, there's still challenges in life that I was dealing with, like with my father, and some other stuff with my family, and that's never an easy thing to deal with. You know, one thing someone told me one time, you know, you pick your nose, you can pick your friends, can't pick your family.
Yeah, you can't pick your
know,
family,
so
yeah.
like that's
I know that quote. I know that quote well.
That's a very true statement, and you know, despite everything, I was always there. But yeah, law enforcement it was hard, but the academy was a breeze because I was an athlete, and you know when they're in your face screaming at your face, and like you know,
You're like, I've been through worse.
I'm like, okay, what you want me to do? 200 push-ups? Okay, like oh, I'm a little tiny like whatever they would call me, rodent or something like weird. I'm like okay, like I honestly the academy was a breeze. I actually won an award because I was like I was like
Well, it doesn't surprise me, but it's good
so
to
they
hear.
called me Mighty Mouse. They called me Mighty Mouse. I was the
fitting.
smallest, and so the information.
kinda like that.
That's a fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, information, like, you know, we would have to like do drill in the morning and march and everything.
Yeah.
And I was always in the back because I was the shortest, because it goes tallest to shortest.
Yep.
And then I would call all the cadences because I was the loudest. So I got a leadership award in
gotcha.
the police academy. Yeah.
Nice, very
yeah.
nice.
Pretty cool. So
Validates the fact that you always knew you were a leader.
yep.
You know?
Yep, and they knew that
Validation along
even
the
when
way.
I graduated, they still, my sergeants and everybody, they still reach out to me and they're like, yo, we see what you're doing, and honestly, we think you're on the right path. When I told them, reached out to them to let them know I was quitting, especially my drill instructor, they were like, yeah, I think you're making the right choice.
Yeah.
Like, you're too good to be doing that. I'm like, wow, well, thank you. Like, I support the job. It's a great job, but honestly, it just wasn't for me.
It's not your vision for your life.
It wasn't for me. No,
No.
it's amazing, and honestly, kudos to all of them, and it's great, and I support police always. But like, it just was not. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah, it wasn't
It just
your
didn't
vision.
feel right. It didn't feel right. It just, I grew up in a very negative life, household, everything. So like, to keep being around negative, knowing I can't put into what I want, because there's rules and things you have to follow. It just kind of was like, wow, like, this can't be as rewarding as I wanted it to be.
Yeah, there's different levels of freedom, right? If you're a Dan Kennedy fan, there's freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of relationships. There's freedom of purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're describing. Like, we're not free to take the action that you wanted to help in the ways that you wanted to fulfill like your purpose.
Yeah.
So I get that. There were, so you leave the academy, right? You leave law enforcement. When did competition start? Like, when did you start competing?
I started competing before I even was in law enforcement.
Okay, you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
I competed while I was in law enforcement. I competed while I was in the police academy.
Okay.
It's pretty funny because I was a blue belt at this point when I joined, when I was in the police academy.
Sure.
And, when you're in the police academy, you can't really have social media. You have to be super low key. You have to do, they monitor your stuff. Like, we started the police academy, there was maybe 79 people that started. When I graduated, there was 46 of us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because people couldn't take the hazing. People couldn't take the running, the push-ups, and like
Restrictions.
there was a lot.
I
It was
feel like
hard.
You can't handle that in the academy, then you're not gonna be able to handle the streets.
Like, don't get me wrong, it's hard because they ride you hard, and they
the best.
Yeah, of course. Like, it's like boot camp basically. It's not an easy thing, if you're not bringing what they want to see you eating for lunch, or nobody can eat. Like, it's a long day of just hell. Like, honestly, like, it sucks. But like I said, I competed one weekend and I won first place. It was awesome. It was a blue belt tournament in Pittman, New Jersey. And I went and did it by myself, had no coach, nothing. And we went and did it. And my drill instructor brought me up in the front of the class and was like, "Recruit Mazza." And I'm like, shit, what did I do? And they're like, "What did you do this weekend?" I'm like, "Sir, nothing, sir." Like, and they're like, "What color is your badge?" And my badge was yellow and black, or gold and black. And I'm like, "Yellow, sir, yellow, sir." And he was like, "What, are you effing colorblind?" I'm like, he's like, "What color? What color is your badge?" And I'm like, "Sir, yellow, sir." And then he makes me get in like front leaning rest, they call it, which is push-up position. And he keeps asking me, and I'm like, I don't know what he wants me to say. And he's like, "Stand up." So I was like down there for 3 minutes holding a plank. And if I dropped a little bit, I was gonna beat my face doing push-ups. He's like, "I think your badge is gold. And what else is gold?" And I'm like, because I got a gold medal. And I was like, oh. And then after that, he bragged about it, and he was like, and he's like a scary Marine. Like, he's done like 4 tours. Like, he's insane. So like, when he yelled at us, you're like, So he said, "And everybody else, this little girl's out there competing, kicking people's butts, and here you guys are, can't even do this and that," whatever he was saying. So then they all had to run. I'm like, "Oh, great.
Great job, Mighty Mouse."
I'm like, "Damn.
Making us look bad, Mighty Mouse."
But that was cool. So as they're all running, he's like, "You're awesome." And right there, I built a relationship with him, and I still have a relationship with him. Sergeant Lewis. Yeah.
Again, like, actions. You know what I mean? Leading actions, going out there.
And I didn't say nothing. I didn't post nothing about it. And he just knew. He found out somehow. I don't know how. But like, he was like, "How many matches did you have?" And I had 9 matches that weekend. And he was like, "And you won all?" And I won all of them.
Nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. So that was really cool. But then
was the flying armbar in play then at that point?
Yeah. Oh yeah. God. Yeah.
So
that was white belt, Amanda. Oh yeah. You're white belt.
So
Huh?
Amanda was. It was early on white belt.
It's interesting that you were applauded for that, because I used to train with a Philly cop, and he actually like had to like secretly train jiu-jitsu because you're not allowed to train as a. I think that's been lifted.
Yeah, but before they couldn't.
You weren't allowed to train.
Yeah, I mean, Martinez, like, obviously Martinez is like huge law enforcement community at Martinez. Obviously. Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like, I mean, you see all these videos online. It's like every cop should train jiu-jitsu. Like, that should be literally a part of your.
Oh yeah, it's huge now.
Like,
it's huge now.
Did you have, in the time that you were in law enforcement, did you have to use your jiu-jitsu to a point, I will say, really use it, like actual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was a couple of situations. Not too many. I'm lucky, but yeah, especially again, like I'm a smaller girl, so you see me in uniform. People are like, "Oh, she's little," like I can sometimes be a target.
Little do they know.
Yeah. Oh well, they found out.
Yeah.
They found
They
out.
fucking
Like I wish it
found out.
didn't come to that, but they found out. So definitely got to applaud for that.
Yeah.
I feel like the
that-
takedowns have to be a huge thing involved.
Arm
Well, just
drags.
even having control and holding people, and you know what I mean. Like that was more of the thing. Like of course,
sure,
like
being able to
just-
what do they call retain?
Yeah.
retain the.
yeah, that was different. But yeah, it was interesting. Like I could, one thing I could say is I've went that route, but at least I could say what I don't want to do. You know what I mean? Like I really respect it, and it's a lesson learned, and kudos to everybody that does that job. It's hard, and it's it was very hard bringing some of that stuff home, seeing some of the things I would see. Especially with children, like. It hurt seeing those things and knowing I couldn't take action. I just was like, I can't go to bed knowing what I know and seeing what I see and being okay with it. That was the hardest part of the job for me, honestly. Really.
How much could you compartmentalize? Because I hear it over and over again in your story. Not only did challenges present themselves, but challenges presented themselves that literally triggered memories of the traumas that you had gone through. So it's not just like you had to do something hard.
Yeah.
Like you had to do something hard that directly reminded you of something that you were still working to be better or to overcome. You know what I mean? So I imagine that they live with you. They're your scars. But were you able, especially in law enforcement, to compartmentalize and say, like, I'm here to do, I have a duty to do a job to help those, and I can't let those thoughts and those memories come up in the moment?
Yeah. Well, even when they did, it's just like, my thing is, like, I would sometimes get in trouble because I was too nice to sometimes these people. But, like, listen, you get more of a honey than vinegar. You know what I mean? So, like, I knew how to talk to people, especially there was a time where I was, like, working in the civil court with children and stuff, like adoption, DIFUS, all that stuff. So, like, sitting here and talking to these kids, like, they really assigned me to that a lot because, like, they knew I knew how to talk to these kids, and we would get a lot more answers through me.
Sure.
And DIFUS would love me. They would be like, oh yeah, come talk to this kid, come talk to this kid. And like, I knew because I could relate, and I could relate, and that helped a lot of them. And like, people would always be like, man, you should be a therapist. And I'm like, no, like I'm there and I'll help anybody always. Like, that's one thing about me. I am not, I'm a very selfless person. Like, but don't get it wrong. Like, don't take my kindness for weakness. Like, there's a line. Like, you're not walking all over me. But still, like, with that, it just.
So it actually that, that pain was actually, again, power for you. Like, you helped them heal, and it was probably therapeutic and helped heal you as well.
100%. That was the rewarding parts, when I know I could at least just get some honest answers out of these kids that obviously didn't want to talk and stuff like that I could sit there and tell them, like, hey, like, I've been here.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
I've been in your shoes. Like, I've
them,
I've dealt with DIFUS as a child myself. I understand.
And for them in that moment, that's so important to hear.
Yep.
So important to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. That really, like, as much as it broke my heart to see that and see them like that hurt. But like, I would think about me being in those shoes because I've been there. And I'm just like, hey, listen, like, look where I am now. Look at me. Like,
absolutely.
Like, and they would see that, and it would give them hope. Like, they would write me letters. They would write me postcards, like all these cool things. Like, and then sometimes they hated me, some of the kids. They'd be like, oh, shut up, lady. Like, you don't know me. And I'm like, all right, like, that's fine.
I gotta imagine more good though than
way more good,
that,
definitely.
And that's why I even mentioned, like, not just such a strong example of who we are as the few for our community, but a strong example of who we are in society.
Yeah.
Because of examples just like that.
Yeah.
That you mentioned. So we're so honored to have you with us on the team. We really are. We've covered a lot of ground, right? So let's like.
I feel like we've gone through on a journey, like, literally.
And I feel like it's only been a small piece.
I definitely want to write a book one day, for sure.
You absolutely should.
I'm not 30 yet, but I said, like, by the time I like reach my 30s, that's definitely gonna be something, because I think my story is just the roller coaster it was. Like, you know, it's just, it really, I hope it could help a lot of people. And even with me with grappling and stuff, like, of course I want to be one of the best in the world. But honestly, what I want more out of this is just to like really show people, like, no matter what, you can reach your goals and dreams. Like, no matter what hardships, no matter what obstacles, no matter what pain, like, you really can get there. You can
It's
get
achievable.
there. Yeah.
It's achievable.
It's nothing is impossible. Like, you are your own worst enemy. Like, you are the only thing that will stop yourself.
Exactly. And you could have stopped yourself multiple times, but you chose not to.
Nope.
You chose not to. Let's talk about, let's fast forward now to recent.
Yeah.
And let's talk about some of your recent competitions. What is maybe your I know the big one.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that one. Have you competed since the Invitational?
Yeah, Fury a couple weeks ago.
yes.
Yeah,
Fury, so.
New Year's Eve weekend. Yeah, December 30th. Yep.
Okay, so that's Fury Pro Grappling, right?
Yep.
In Philly. Before that, where were you?
I was at the UFC Invitational in Las Vegas.
Yep. Yeah. I remember when you broke the news to me about that and how excited you were
Oh, man.
and over the moon. Was that at Strong New York? I think it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was at Strong.
I think I told you prior, but
You
like
did,
we
but it was
talked
a
more.
hush hush thing.
we were
Yeah,
getting,
nobody
like-
knew about
we were
it
getting
besides
more
like you
rumblings, like,
guys.
don't tell anyone.
You guys, Max,
Over
and my
text.
coaches. Yep.
Yep.
Screenshot.
Yeah. And then at Strong New York at Kenny's event, we spoke about it a little bit more. How did you prepare? So let's get into the preparation a little bit, like competition prep, not necessarily the physical stuff. We can talk about that, the actual training, but like mentally, how did you prepare for that? It's probably the biggest stage that you had been on at the time, right?
100%. Yeah. Mentally, honestly, like the nerves for sure were keeping me up at night, waking me up in the middle of the night more like it. I have no problem falling asleep. It's staying asleep, waking up with that heart racing anxiety where I'm like, oh my God.
I'm an entrepreneur. I get it.
Yeah. Oh man, that's constant.
Yeah,
it's constant. But honestly, mentally, like I would say, I just really would just have these talks, like these self-talks a lot. And then like one thing like Max said to me was, hey, Amanda, like, because there was a time where I was like, oh my God, like, why did they pick me? Like, I just keep picking, like, what made them pick me? Like, I just want to know, like, what made them pick me? And Max is like, Amanda, you belong on that stage. Act like it. And he said that, and I just was like, you know what? You're right. Like, there's a reason they picked me, and you know what? I know why they picked me. And I just kept telling myself, like, I'm picked for a reason. I'm picked for a reason. They picked me for a reason. Like, I belong on that stage. Act like it. Act like it. And even Jonathan said it. Jay said it. Max. Them three, honestly, like, my good practices, my bad practices, anything. Like, after every practice, they constantly had to talk with me. You know, because even if I had a great practice, they'd be like, yo, like, you look good. Like, this is it. You know, they'd have these talks with me that just kept lifting me up and giving me that reassurance. Not that I needed it, but just like, it just kind of was like, all right, yeah, like I'm thinking clearly and I'm thinking good.
Sure.
And that helped a lot.
So self-talk, talk from your team.
Yeah.
A lot of talking, right? Talking you through it so that you could.
You know what it was? They treated me like I was like the best grappler in the world. They talked to me like that. Like they treated me like a superhero. Like, you're so great. Like, you did this super awesome. Like, you know, obviously they're hyping it a little bit more, but like the fact that they were acting like they were like my biggest fans, like, you know, it's like, you know, you're right. No, they definitely are. They're awesome. They're
Interesting,
all
like this Max is Amanda's boyfriend over there too, right? Like we gotta get Max. So
camera,
everyone knows who Max is, but it's cool how it ties into the rule of the field. You are who you hunt with, and that's that applies to who you train with, who you spend your quality time with, or your downtime with, or who you choose to listen to, or even go through life with as your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband. Like, not many people have that support from their partner, significant other, saying like that are on the field with you, like, you know what, like you deserve to be here, and like literally like pushing you down the field in life, like. So like, shout out to Max for doing that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's in the summer. He would wake me up 5 a.m. All right, time to go do sprints.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a morning person. Don't get me wrong, but like, Max is wrestled since he was 3 years old, so he's got that wrestling mindset. So he's a very anyone that knows him, he's a very elite person. Like he fits definitely the few. Like he's one of them for sure. He has really taught me so much, and just because he's been on some of the biggest stages as well. Like he's been in some of the biggest rooms. He's a Division I Drexel wrestler. So, and you know, he's trained with some of the best in the world also. So he is definitely someone that has really reminded me who I am on the days that, sometimes I might lose sight of it a little bit because some days obviously, are harder than others. But you know what? He is that person that has literally just snaps me right back into it. Like, hey, like he'll just literally give me a little poke on the chest like, yo.
Yep.
Remember, what are you doing?
Yeah, step out of it.
Step out of it.
Yeah.
Remember who you are. Like, and I'm like, you know what? You're right. Like, you're right. Like, and it fires me up. And nobody pushes me on the mats like he does. Like, the amount of effort and time. Like, and I'm so lucky because, like, that's my boyfriend. He lives with me. But even before he was my boyfriend, he was my friend. And, like, honestly, like, if everyone could have a Max in their life, like, this kid is built different. Him, his brothers, like, they are just very different breed of people. And I've never in my entire life, and I've met a lot of people, I've seen a lot of stuff, I've never met people like the Livingstons, honestly. Honestly.
Shout out to Livingston.
Yeah, the Livingstons. I'm serious. Yeah. Oh my God.
All of them on the show.
All three of them. Oh, man.
It sounds to me that different found different.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So I sense that you were built different. It sounds like you found somebody that was also built different.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And
Yep.
you've come together to create something beautiful.
Yeah.
So on the mental side of things, it seems like, you had that support system, which is amazing. Even in the initial, like, I remember when we were initially talking about it, when it was still hush-hush, you had a vibe about you that it was more of a like, can you believe they picked me type vibe? You know what I mean? Which was a little out of character from what I knew of you because I was like, you're so convicted, you're so confident. And I was like, well, this is a big stage. So of course there's,
I think it was more because like jiu-jitsu records and everything. Like I've lost a lot. Like don't get me wrong, I've lost a lot. I haven't won them all at all.
Yeah.
But like when I win big. You know, and that's what kind of separates me from a lot of people. Because when I win, it's with style. You know, not that I'm going out there and like, oh, I want to do something crazy to get a highlight reel. Like that's just me. Like even in the training room, my coach is just like, you do things that like I don't even know what you're doing, and you do it. I'm just like, all right, yeah. I mean that works. But I'm just like a wild. You know, they all call me. I have a couple nicknames: Mazza Madness, Maniac Mazza.
I like these.
Mazza Airlines, Amanda Airlines.
Yeah.
Like I got so many nicknames because I'm just like I just am like balls to the wall or nothing at all.
It's
That is
funny.
me.
It's funny you bring up the losing because like a friend of mine, training partner Eddie, lost at the FWH Open this weekend. It was like one of his first like bigger competitions. He was kind of like hanging his head last night over this loss. I'm like, dude, like I don't know where we got off as a sport of MMA and jiu-jitsu. Like you can't lose for some reason. But Michael Jordan, the greatest, one of the greatest athletes of all time, lost so many. Like how?
Dude, he was cut from his high school basketball.
Do you know how many times Michael Jordan lost like his record? No, because like you can like for some reason in this sport like you can't like take a loss and just keep going. Like
I think
and
it's
still
the same thing
become
in
the
life.
best one day. Like it's literally.
Well, I always say like if we don't have losses, we don't appreciate our wins. You know, like, and every time I've had a loss, like, like I learn from it. Like I realize where I went wrong. I study that film. Like just like in life, if you make a mistake, like or have I felt losing or like anything like that hurt me before, like I will never let myself feel that way again. Like if I made that mistake, I'm not going to make that mistake again. Like so with all my losses, I've always learned something. And guess what? No excuses. Back to work. Back to work. Like honestly, like the highs and lows of it like really make the sport that much more enjoyable. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
for sure.
They sound cliche when you say things like that.
I know.
No, it's just like that like you hear things and then you apply them to your life and it's like, oh wow, like this is actually like it's not cliche, it's actual real talk.
No, it's real. It's real
Nobody
talk,
likes to lose.
It's like I posted yesterday though, losses make bosses, dude.
Yeah.
Losses create more learnings than winning ever will.
Absolutely.
So like if you're not losing, you're not going to accelerate at the speed with which you really want to. Like it's a gate you have to pass through.
Absolutely.
It's like the way I look at it, So Invitational didn't go the way you wanted it to.
No, unfortunately not.
No.
It was awesome though, the experience. I was in the UFC Apex. I was doing the photo shoots. I was doing weigh-ins with GSP. Like that was so cool.
Amazing,
like
right? Amazing.
That was cool. Super cool guy,
signing the poster.
I was on the card with some of the best grapplers in the world, and I was there because I belonged there, Like
Exactly
again,
right.
unfortunately the results didn't go the way I wanted. I took the match at a little bit of a heavier weight. But I didn't care. Like I knew what I was doing getting into it. So
like you have the next taste. Like that's the way I look at it. Like you had that experience and you're like, okay.
I want more of that. Yeah, absolutely.
So then you came back and you were on the Fury. mats.
Yep.
That went away.
Yeah, that one. I won that one. Yeah, that was a good one. I slowed down the pace a little bit there. Just kind of wanted to work a couple different things in that match. I got the win. Didn't get a sub, but I got the win. And I had a really good performance, honestly. Like, I felt great. I did great. I threw up a couple different subs than people are used to seeing. So that was cool. That was something. People were like, wow, you don't just do arm bars? Like, I was throwing up darces. I was throwing up knee bars. Like, people were like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Heel hook. And
Which
they were
is
like,
good.
wow, you know other things than arm bars? So that was a good win for me. Definitely a good way to end the year. And now I got some other things coming up.
So that's we're gonna bring this in for we're gonna bring I say Air Amanda, but it's what?
Amanda Airlines.
We're gonna bring Amanda Airlines in for a landing. So what's next?
So next, I am going to do the ADCC Atlantic City Open, which is February 10th. That's just like a tournament.
Okay.
And then from there, me and Max both are competing in Grapple Fest in Liverpool, in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's in March.
March 2nd. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're flying out into February because it's a big time change there. So we definitely got to get adjusted before we go out there and compete, of course.
Sure.
So I'm on the main card. There's some really, really big names headlining. So that's going to be awesome to be on the main card with them. Wow. So I'm really excited for that. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Hard work pays off.
Yeah.
Legit.
Yeah.
Like another cliche, but.
Yeah, but it's truth.
You know, it's funny, like everyone in the beginning too, and we might open another can of worms here, but like may have doubted you or told you like you can't make
Still
a living or a life out of grappling, and it's literally just so not true. That's like you said earlier in the conversation that you had to figure your life out, but like realistically, do we ever figure it out? Like we're just always it's still growing, still going.
Yeah.
Right? Like
For sure.
I think like when we're figuring out, that just goes to show that we are growing. You know, when you're trying to figure things out, that just goes you're not comfortable. And that's okay. Like I like when I'm not comfortable. When I'm not comfortable, I know I'm growing. I know I'm taking steps forward. I know I'm getting better. So like when I'm like, all right, I'm still figuring it out. Like I said, like I quit a career with benefits, pay, everything. Like I'm back to bartending. You know, I was in nursing school. I left law enforcement to go right back into nursing school.
We didn't even touch on nursing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, this past, I was supposed to sign up again for fall semester in the summer.
Yeah.
And then like I had that conversation with you, like something in my gut was telling me like, no, like take this semester off, take this semester off. And then literally the month later, in August is when I got reached out to about the Fight Pass Invitational. So I was like, oh my God, all right, see, the stars are aligning. Like this is meant to happen. Everything's meant to happen. So I haven't went back yet. I'm still considering, but right now I'm just back to bartending. I teach kids class, I teach women's class, I teach privates. So like I'm doing what I got to do to make money. It's not the best financially, but like I'm grinding. I'm used to grinding. I'm used to working like a dog.
No stranger to it. You know what I mean? So if anything, you're built for it.
It's like you said to Dr. Sean, it's like that is the dream too. Like this part of your journey and your story is like this is the dream. Like you know what I mean? Like you're chasing.
You're literally
I'm
writing
grateful.
the pages of your book.
Absolutely.
You're writing the pages.
I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And you know, there's obviously some days where I'm like, oh my God, I don't have the benefits. I don't have the job. You know, I don't. But you know what? I'm so happy.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
Hell yeah.
I'm happy. I get to do what I love. Like I look forward to training every day. I look forward to working out. I look forward to teaching kids and women. Like, oh my God, like when I leave teaching my kids class, I teach at Freedom Jiu-Jitsu in Woodstown, New Jersey. When I leave teaching that class, I am so happy. Like Max is like, oh, you're going to be an amazing mom one day. Like I love kids and they are so fun and they're so entertaining. Like even teaching women, like I teach women very beginner level jiu-jitsu and just like even bring them into the door and them feeling comfortable enough with me to start jiu-jitsu in general. Like I'm so grateful I can do that.
You're so well positioned for even that. You're so well positioned because of your story and what you went through. Like you were the only woman walking into a gym at one time too. They're there with other women as well, but you know that feeling. So you can help them navigate that.
Yeah, and they don't. And the thing is too, like they don't even know that about me. Like you know, but I'm glad I can make them feel that comfortable to where like you know. And then now that obviously things are starting to come to light in my life and people are starting to understand my story a little bit more, like you know, it's giving me good attention obviously, and they're feeling like wow, like I really can relate to you. So like now they feel comfortable coming and talking to me, coming and asking these questions, coming and learning from me, especially.
Sure.
So it's
going to
maximize
the impact that you have, not just on your own personal journey, but like in society. society as a whole, the amount of people that you can impact.
That's what I want to do. That's all I want. Like
You already are.
You're
doing it.
That's
You're
all.
doing it.
Even like the UFC Invitational commentary, me walking up the steps, what they said about me being such an amazing person and overcoming, hardship and stuff, like them saying that about me, like as I'm walking on the biggest stage in the world, like I just was like, wow, like that's what I want to be known as. That's what I want. I of course I want to be a Amanda Airlines tough little badass chick, but like I'm more than just that, and I want people to see that. I don't want to just be this little feisty, scrappy little flying squirrel. Like I want to be somebody. I want people to be able to relate to me and know that like I'm human too. Like
they can see it and they feel it. That's why, you say, oh, the stars are aligning. It's like you are the star.
Yeah.
They're aligning around you as you move, forward, the only direction forward on your journey, they're aligning around you. So the things that are happening, you say I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Yep.
The things that are happening, like the way I look at it is the proof. It is a huge book of proof is being written that you're where you need to be and that you're on the right track.
Yeah.
You're also getting more fulfillment out of life than
freedom of purpose.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, we only got one, and we're in the driver's seat of it.
Yeah.
So why not make it what we want? You know, and life's too short, and I've been through too much hard shit and things that like I'm not stopping here. There's a lot more for me, and I'm still young. Like I keep telling myself I'm old, but like people are like, yo, you're not old. So I'm like, you know what? Like life's what you make of it. I'm gonna make something of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read the book.
Oh yeah, it'll come one day.
Literally, like all of this.
Yeah.
You already could write a book and it would be great. I can't wait to see in 10 years the back chapters of
I said
that
that
book.
since
It's
I
gonna
was
be
young
amazing.
too, which is weird. Like I said that since I was young. Like, I'm gonna write a book one day, and like I'm still.
I think you're speaking all of this into existence. So keep it up.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Definitely.
For sure. Well, like I said, we're bringing this in for a landing. We could go on for hours probably. We are absolutely honored to have you in the few, have you representing the few, not just our community, but in society, not just in the community, but in society. And we mean that from the bottom of our hearts. So thank you for coming through today and doing the Fuel Hunt Show. Very first guest.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely amazing.
So excited.
You want to sign off? I want
Amanda sign us off.
I want Amanda. I don't know if Amanda knows the sign off.
I don't know the sign off yet.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah, I'll do it. Hit me with the excuses thing real quick, though. Excuses are tools of the incompetent?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Now I'm going to sign us off. Yeah. Always remember, choose hard work over handouts. Choose effort over entitlement. No one owns you. No one owes you. You're one of the few. Let's hunt.